40% of the Americans are obese. We sit too much, we eat the wrong thing, and we don't exercise enough. To make it even worse, a lot of information about healthy diet is available in the internet. We get it on social media. Some of them are really good advices, but some just want to sell you something. So is misinformation the major cause for obesity? Hello, I'm Manfred Stapff, your host of this podcast. Welcome to the real-world evidence perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. In this episode, we look a little bit closer at the risks of obesity and how we can avoid or perhaps even reverse it. Remember, in order to form your own opinion, to make your own decisions, you need data. You need to look at the facts. So let's try it for obesity. Is the consumption of red wine beneficial? Does high fiber intake actually prevent colon carcinoma? Does excessive consumption of carbohydrates and processed meats increase the risk of cancer or other diseases? What about coffee? What about the Mediterranean diet? For many of these questions, there are clinical trial results giving us some recommendations. Probably the best known and largest studies with information about nutrition are the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey, NHANES, and the Nurses' Health Study. They are among the most important epidemiological studies regarding diet, nutrition, and long-term clinical outcomes and risks, and they have shaped nutrition recommendations and health policies for years. As much as we respect such a huge scientific work, we have to consider that these are clinical trials. In this case, they are observational studies, but they are studies. Studies are experimental situations where people maybe react a little bit different than in real world. There are questionnaires to be filled out. There are informed consent forms to fill out. This can lead to a placebo effect or to a hawthorne effect. Hawthorne effect is that people act a little bit different if they know that they are observed. In addition, the validation of questionnaires about nutritional behavior is sometimes difficult. Participants can sometimes not exactly remember what they took, what they ate, and sometimes they cheat a little bit, especially when it comes to more unhealthy food. In nutrition studies, participants often underestimate the amount of what they have eaten. Now, how do we know that about participants underestimating what they are eating? One can measure the amount of CO2 produced by the body as a result of energy production. To be exact, it's the ratio of specific hydrogen and oxygen isotopes, because only the oxygen contributes to the CO2 production. Through such a calculation, researchers found that more than half of the data in widely used databases on nutrition studies may be wrong, because participants underreport their food intake. They report often less calories than they actually take, and less calories than are needed as an energy to keep the body moving. So all these nice recommendations now are not valid anymore? Maybe if they are mostly based on nutrition studies with questionnaires. Perhaps there is no hard clinical proof, but at least there are good hypotheses to believe that certain food is good, some food is not so good, and perhaps with other food we don't really know for sure whether it's beneficial or not. But let's now focus on the real topic, which has a lot of data, simply obesity. Now, how do we get overweight? Despite many people think otherwise, it's relatively simple. We eat more energy than we spend. One can calculate the total energy expenditure based on age, body weight, and height. Many smartphones are doing that, your smartwatches are doing that, and you can see what is your basic metabolic rate, your basic daily energy consumption. It's usually depending on your age, depending on your weight, depending on your sex. It is 1500 to 2500 calories a day. And then, of course, you have to add the amount for physical activity. So energy number, resting metabolic rate is just to keep your body moving, to stay alive, like a car idling in park position or in neutral. Just to give you a number, to compensate one standard bar of chocolate who has 600 calories, you need to vigorously bicycle for at least 1 hour. So since, so to say, in terms of nutrition, is really hard to compensate by exercise. Obesity is defined as body mass index over 30 kilogram per square meters. So these are the kilogram and meters. So if you use the formula with feet and pounds, then you have to multiply this by this weird number 703. But if you end up with 25 and higher, you are overweight. 30 and higher is obese. And 40 and higher is really a big risk. And you see in this graphic that to get diabetic is the biggest risk. But also other diseases, even mortality, because if you become diabetic, obviously, then there is a risk to get other diseases or to even die. There are, to be absolutely honest, some discussions how to calculate these, whether to exclude in these calculations smoking or not smoking, but these are details. So the numbers are clear. The highest risk of obesity is to become diabetic, but there are also other risks. And here there is the risk of becoming diabetes about 7 times higher than if you are not obese. So the prevalence of obesity is 40%. Almost every second person in the United States is obese. Therefore, a lot of people in the United States will become diabetic. For people with normal weight, the natural risk of becoming diabetic is about 10%. For overweight people, it is about 25 to 30%. And when you are obese, remember, body mass index over 30, the risk is 50% every second. You know from other episodes that I very often like this so-called number needed to treat, number needed to harm, which is, to be exactly, 2.5. 1 in 2.5 people will get diabetes because of their obesity. Let's look a little bit at the mortality. Of course, one cannot estimate the mortality risk for normal people because sooner or later everybody has to die. But if you are overweight, your life expectancy is approximately 2 years less than if you are a normal weight person. And if you are obese, your life gets shortened by approximately 3 to 10 years. So let's consider that when we eat the next bar of chocolate. So this looks quite frightening, as if it would be difficult to escape from this fate, especially from getting diabetic. Why is this so? Because sugar was introduced in the human diet only a few hundred or a few thousand years ago, especially cane sugar. And the human metabolism is not adjusted to this type of diet. So we are here in the modern times, especially in the Western and industrialized world, we are overwhelmed by food which is not really healthy. and which we did not have 10,000 years ago, and which is not adequately metabolized in our body. If you cannot remember all the recommendations, then just keep 3 really good advices in mind. One is 2,000 calories a day is a good amount of energy to consume. Of course, it depends on your activity. If you are sitting in front of the computer the whole day, then it's perhaps a little bit less. If you are running, bicycling, or working physically, then it is certainly more. In terms of composition, there are many recommendations: red wine, fiber, more coffee, less coffee, no beer, or 1 glass of beer. Just remember, more protein is good, and eat less carbs and less sugar. Always look at the label, and the more protein relationship to carbs the food has, the more healthy it may be. This is a table which shows the protein to carb ratio of several foods, and you see that all the meat and fish and so is on the top. It's basically almost pure protein, very healthy. And what I like so much, pasta, spaghetti, and so, of course, is mainly carbs. It does really have no protein unless I have a very good meat sauce. So it's not necessarily healthy stuff. Also, yogurt could be healthy, but as soon as there is some taste, some flavor, vanilla, strawberry, this is mainly sugar. It's mainly sugar. So it has to be an plain, an empty yogurt, and the best is Greek yogurt empty. Of course, it's not as delicious as a wonderful sweet vanilla yogurt, but you can get used to it quite easily. Same is with drinks, with juice, with Sprite and Coke and all these drinks. It doesn't make sense to go to the zero version, zero Coke, zero Sprite, zero sugar juice, because for sweetness they have artificial sweetness. And this artificial sweetness, we really don't know exactly what they are doing with our microbiome in the gut. And they are even under the suspicion they may also contribute to getting cancer. So good, clean water, also not the best taste, also not the best flavor, but you get used to it. So keep that in mind. So here are the 3 advices to memorize. 2,000 calories a day is a good number to keep in mind. More protein, less carbs, no sugar, and what I have not yet mentioned, no late night snacks. Is it unhealthy to eat late night? Yes, it is. There are new studies available, animal studies, that there is a connection between the brain and the liver and the feedback process. And it seems to be that the brain-liver connection has an influence in our internal clock. In the mouse model, it showed that if there is a late night food, a late night snack, then we eat much more the next day and gain weight. It has something to do with the daily rhythm, with light and darkness, and this is what brain and liver communicate about and mix up the food intake. So I showed you some data and facts about obesity and risk and how to avoid them. This was not body shaming. This was not discriminating against a certain group with higher body mass index. These were just scientific and medical facts. It's your decision how you treat your body and how you bear the risks and the consequences. But in order to make such decisions, you need the facts, you need the data, you need the studies. And I hope this episode helped you to get these facts and you make your decision based on your own risk-benefit evaluation. In my newest book, Real-World Evidence Unveiled, Navigating the Maze of Modern Misinformation, I have summarized a few tips and hints and examples how to navigate to this misinformation, how to get data, how to get facts. And it's available on Amazon as ebook, paperback, and hardcover. So this short overview hopefully gave you a few hints on how to address controversially discussed topics and how to come closer to facts and to base your opinion and your decision on evidence in daily life. Thank you for watching the Real World Evidence Perspective, which brings you truth, data, and candid context. Don't forget to like, forward, comment, or subscribe, whatever you find appropriate. Thank you very much.